what's up, guys? Welcome in to, this is episode number six of the South Shore Audio Podcast. So we've surpassed our toddler stage now, and what are we? They don't really give a name to age 5 and 6, do they? You know, there's like an infant. You're a newborn, you're like an infant, and then you become a toddler. What are you when you're 6? You're just a kid, I guess. Nothing special. Well, anyway, we've turned 6, and I've got a pretty cool topic for you today, something that I think is really important when it comes to us as songwriters and producers, which a lot of times those two things can be, if not one and the same. There's definitely tons and tons of overlap. But as producers, there's definitely a lot of overlap with the songwriting territory. I think we need to think like songwriters if we want people to care about the songs that we produced. So we have to think about the different ways that our song is crafted to get people's attention and keep people listening. So again, thanks for tuning in. And if you're anything like me, I am like a podcastaholic. So there's any number of podcasts that you could be listening to, yet you are here. So thank you. Appreciate it, guys. I want to remind you first, though, that I've got a free pack of samples that I'd like to offer to you right now, like today, not tomorrow, not an hour from now, but like you can get them right now. And I've created them for you. They come in all the different major keys of music. I almost said all the keys, but that's probably not technically true, because there's some minor keys and things like that. But basically, samples that are in every key, and they're different tempos, but they're adaptable to, your DAW. And they are totally drag and drop ready. And speaking of drag and drop, I have created a 4-part workshop that's going to go right along with this pack of samples that you're going to get. That is an exclusive. It's not going to be available like just on general YouTube. The only way you can get it is if you sign up and you claim your free pack of samples first, and then I will reveal it to you. So that is in the works right now, but that's coming soon. So don't miss out. Sign up now so you can be the first to hear about it. So anyway, so what are we talking about today? Today we're talking about, again, I hinted at it, thinking like songwriters. This is kind of a songwriting topic, so it's important. We're going to talk about the chorus of your song, and how the chorus of your song is what matters the most, in my opinion. And why? Well, the simplest answer I guess I can think of is the chorus is the most memorable, usually most catchy part of any song that you can think of. It is why we like to listen to songs. Now that doesn't mean that there aren't people that write good verses or good melodies that you find in an intro, or the bridge is cool. Like, there's other parts of songs that can be cool, for sure. No doubt about that. Not disputing it. But when people normally think of a song by an artist or a band that they like, usually they'll start singing the chorus, or they'll start singing the hook of the chorus, It's usually some combination of a musical melody and a lyric, because those two things go hand in hand, But, sometimes it's even the melody itself that's more memorable than a particular lyric. So I'm just going to talk to you about why I think you need a really good chorus in your song, or you need to focus and put the most amount of attention and energy and effort into creating a good chorus in your song in order to stand out and get people's attention to stick with your song and keep listening to it. So I did a little bit of research, yours truly, and I found some pretty interesting stuff about people's attention spans. So people's attention spans are continuing to shrink, which is probably comes as no surprise to you, right? We hear this a lot. Attention spans continue to get shorter and shorter. Well, it's really true. Our attention spans are getting shorter. So what that means for us is we need to make an impression quickly, probably more quickly than ever before. We need to get to the point, right? So we're living in a time where there's information overload, right? We've all heard this. The amount of information that is at our fingertips is more than has ever existed before. There's a sea of information and entertainment options that exist. The problem isn't that there isn't enough. The problem is there's way too much, right? And everything that's out there is vying for a piece of your attention, including me, right? I'm making this podcast because I want you to hear it. I want you to know that this exists because I want to help you, right? So a little bit of some statistics for you that I think are really telling. So there was a 2017 study conducted by Nielsen Music, and that's Nielsen. That's like the same company that tracks TV ratings and all that stuff. So their stats are super reliable and accurate. They found that the average American spends 32 hours a week listening to music, or just over 4.5 hours per day. That's 4.5 hours every day that people are listening to music now. With the advent of all these different streaming services like Spotify and Pandora, Apple Music, whatever you use, the average length of a song continues to go down, not up, right? So with the trend of people's attention spans getting shorter, you've got songs that are getting shorter too. So it used to be that songs, about 10 years ago, songs were around 4 minutes in length, like the average song. And now it's about 3.5 minutes. So it's gone down like 30 seconds. So this means that if you got 4.5 hours a day that people are listening to music and the average song's 3.5 minutes, a little bit of math, according to my math wizardry, which is not that great, by the way. That means the average person's listening to about 77 songs a day. 77. So that means that if you want to cut through that noise and you want to be one of those songs that's in that rotation, you've got to find your way to squeeze into 77 songs a day, or be like the 78th song for a person who listens to more than average, right? So that means people are listening to a ton of music, and you have to now find a way to squeeze your way into that crowd, that already crowded sea of music. If someone does decide to listen to our song, we're pretty lucky, right? And if we do get lucky and someone is listening to our song, how do we know that they're even going to listen all the way through the song? Some people are willing to listen to a song for about 30 seconds, a minute maybe, and then they'll skip it if it's too boring, if it's not catching their interest. I've done this. Okay. There's been times where I've been listening to something on Spotify and something goes and it plays for like 10 seconds and I'm just like, I don't like this. Skip. Next. In my humble opinion, what keeps the listener's attention so that they'll listen all the way through your song and not just skip through is a great chorus, right? So I think we've made the case now that this is a busy, crowded world. People are consuming lots and lots of entertainment and music, 77 songs a day, and you need to find a way to be one of those, right? So what I have for you today is I've come up with what I think are 3 tips to help you write a good hook for your chorus. Now, I'll be honest. When it comes to writing a hook, I can't write it for you. So, this is going to take practice and it's going to take patience on your part. You're going to have to try a lot of different things. There's going to be a lot of trial and error. It's just part of the process, and you just have to accept that. I don't think you can just write great hooks from day one. Just start and be like, all right, okay, I just sit here and think of it, and boom, something great came to me, something mind-blowing, and now I record it. I record it on my little guitar or my keyboard, and boom, world-changing hook. I don't think it works that way. But what I can do for you is I can offer you these 3 tips as kind of just a starting place to just give you some guidance how you can start practicing writing your own hooks. So the first tip I have for you is try writing a melody that consists of like single notes and isn't too lengthy. You don't want it to be too long. And while there might not be like a magic number on this, I'd say shoot from anywhere from like 4 to maybe 10 notes at most. It kind of depends on how fast the song is. If it's a fast song, then a 10-note melody, if it's matching the tempo of the song, won't sound like it's a lot. It won't sound like it's an excessive amount of notes. But if it's a slower song, kind of a ballad or something like that, and you've got a hook that's like 10 notes, and the song is just like boom, 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 you're gonna sound like you're dragging that hook on for too long, right? And it's like, all right, enough already. Like you made your point. Now you're just going overboard. I would try that. Keep it simple here is the point, which actually leads me to tip number 2. The second tip I have for you is to keep things simple. Now, that might sound like an overly simplified or cliche tip, ironically, but here's why I think keeping things simple is important. The simpler that you keep it, the more memorable it's going to be to the most amount of people, to the highest amount of people. So unless you're writing music and you're in the niche or the genre of like some kind of nerd rock or prog metal, I don't mean that disparagingly, by the way. Like, say in the vein of like a Rush or Periphery or something like that, like this super heavy technical prog metal type stuff. And again, I'm not throwing any shade on that stuff because that's super legit music. I can't play it. I'll be honest. It's for better musicians than me. Keeping things simple is going to be really key. Because, the people who are into that music, most of the people who are listening to Periphery are also musicians too. And they're trying to learn that style of music so that they can get better at it. So they're looking for inspiration from those people, and that's fine. But if you're trying to reach an audience of people that aren't like other niche musicians who want to learn to write stuff like you do, and you're just trying to reach an avid music listener who isn't necessarily a musician themselves, keeping things simple is great because they can follow along with your hook. It becomes something that gets into their mind, and it becomes this we have this term called earworm, where you just keep repeating it and singing it over and over again. So I thought of some examples. Like, think about some of these songs. Under Pressure by Queen. I mean, is that not a simple hook or what? It's just dun 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 dun, and it's like two notes, right? Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Tears for Fears. It's just that little guitar riff. Okay, that's pretty simple. But when I think of that song, that's the first thing that pops into my head. I mean, maybe other people think of the chorus too, but hey, going back to our point, the chorus. Don't Stop Believin', all right? Smells Like Teen Spirit, a song that has literally just like 4 chord progression the whole song, and the verse is just 2 notes. Super simple. Revolutionized music. Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. Hey, that's I mean, it's basically a bass line. I think he recorded it with his guitar, and he used like a Pog pedal to generate lower octaves, but it's basically a bass line. Again, super catchy, super memorable, and that's all there is to it. Clocks by Coldplay, man. Okay, that melody is a little bit more complex than the rest of them, but again, I mean, that's the hook. and it gets you right at the beginning, and it plays and repeats through most of the song. So keep things simple. That's my second tip. Tip number 3, try writing on an instrument that is not your primary instrument. So what I mean by this, if you're a guitar player, try writing on a keyboard, or vice versa. If you're a keyboard player, piano, whatever, try a guitar. Now, the point here isn't that you can actually play that other instrument. For example, I'm not much of a keys player. In fact, I'm really not a keys player at all. I play guitar and I play bass, and I play the computer, basically, is my third instrument. But I don't play the keys, right? But as you can see here, I have a keyboard. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. When you hop on a different instrument that's not your usual instrument, it makes your brain start to think of things in a different way than normal. So your brain is like a massively efficient supercomputer. Not that I want to okay, we're human beings, so I'm not trying to suggest that we're just robots with meat, on our bones, and we're obviously very complex beings, but our brains are exceedingly complex, and they are super adaptable and just amazing instruments to help guide us through our world and our reality. But here's the thing. Your brain wants to do things efficiently. It wants to find ways to get results in the most efficient way possible. So when you pick up your normal instrument, more times than not, what's happening is your brain already has literal, physical, neural highways or pathways that have been ingrained into your brain. And it wants to take those paths because they're familiar, they're well beaten, man. They're well established, and it's a quicker, more efficient way to get to some kind of result than it would be to try to establish some type of new neural highway or a new neural pathway. It takes hard work to start beating down paths that are not well walked, so to speak, right? Which, side note, this is why it's really hard to break an addiction, because when you are in an addictive pattern, your brain gets used to highs that are associated with neural highways that are already well established, and it's hard to get out of those and try to blaze a new path that hasn't been established yet. So you getting on a new instrument is like a hack that you can leverage, basically, to take advantage of this fact of how your brain works to start seeing things and hearing things in a new way. It's not about being good on another instrument. You're not going to be, but you're going to hear things a little bit differently. When I play the keys, I write and construct melodies in a little bit of a different way than I do with my guitar. And the reason for that is because when I'm on my guitar, I use a lot of shapes, and there's a lot of muscle memory involved. We think about that. We use that term muscle memory. What does that mean? It means that we're doing things that are familiar and memories in our brain and that our muscles have remembered. So we want to break that to try to think of things in a fresh new way. And actually, here's a little bonus tip for you. I know I said I only had 3, but guess what? I lied. I actually have 4 tips. So consider this one a bonus if you like. And this one, I think, is perhaps the most important one of all, because this is going to be ongoing for the rest of your entire life as a music producer. And that is, be a critical listener. Embrace outside inspiration. Now, what do I mean by being a critical listener? Let me tell you. A lot of times, us as creative types, as musical-minded people, music producers, we worry about trying to be original, trying to sound original, trying to look original, trying not to copy what everyone else has done or is already doing, right? It's like if it feels like a need of, we just need to feel like we're original. We need to feel like we're just an original person, an original artist. Like, I'm unique, man. I'm like a snowflake. Well, I'm just kidding about that part. Let me tell you something. There's nothing original under the sun. Even you as a person, your DNA is unique. Don't get me wrong. So it's not like there's been another person that exists exactly like you. But in terms of what we're talking about here today with music and producing your own music, the music that you make, it's not as original as you think. And I'm not trying to burst your bubble here, but let me tell you, let me just explain something to you. Think about it. All we have to do is just think about it, one layer underneath the surface, maybe two. If we just dig a little bit, we start to see how things aren't quite as original as we think. We're not using original chords, are we, when we write a song? If your song's in the key of A, all right, some of the chords in the key of A, off the top of my head, right? There's A major, of course, is the root. There's D major, there's E major, there's F sharp minor, right? That's the sixth chord if we're talking about Nashville number system. We'll probably talk about that on a different episode, by the way. So if your progression is D major, A major, E major, F sharp minor. Okay, let's just say. Did you invent those chords? No, you didn't. So we're not using original chords. The instruments we're using are not original, unless you're Paul Meany from Mute Math, who created this like homemade instrument out of like a Guitar Hero controller. Okay, props to him. You're original, bro. Okay, all right. So you proved me wrong. But if you're not like him, which I think the vast majority of us are not making our own homemade instruments, right? We're not using original instruments. We're not using original software. The computers, the microphone, anything. This microphone, I didn't make this. The computer I'm recording on, Apple made that, right? Someone else thought of that. So it's okay for us to seed this point, let's say like, all right, it's not about trying to be original. In fact, what I'm encouraging you to do is not only should you stop worrying about trying to be so original and unique, but let's go a step further and lean into your influences, okay? Embrace them. Embrace your influences. It's okay to sound like someone else. It's okay to sound like, oh, well, that kind of sounds like part Bruce Springsteen and parts Nirvana and part Foo Fighters and part Britney Spears. Now, there's probably no one that sounds like a mixture of all those things, but those are just what came to mind off the top of my head, right? Embrace your influences. And how do you get influences? I'll tell you what, it's simple. You already are doing it, I guarantee you. You listen to as much music as you possibly can. Don't just listen passively. Listen critically, going back to the original point. So what I want you to do, my advice to you, if I can help you and just put my arm around you and say, listen, you want to write better hooks? You want to write a better chorus? Lean into your influences. Listen to as much music as you can. Listen to the hooks that are in the songs that you're listening to. Pay attention. What's the melody or what's the instrument that is being used to catch my attention, to keep me listening? Where are they putting that hook? Are they using it right in the intro of the song, right off the bat? Or are they waiting until the chorus to introduce it? And they're saying, oh, I got this nice surprise up my sleeve. Just wait till you get to the chorus. How long are they waiting before they introduce a chorus? Is that first chorus hitting like 30 seconds into the song? Is it taking a minute to get to the chorus? How long is the intro? Like, these are the kinds of questions that I want you to start thinking of, right? Listen for the context of the hook as well. What other things are happening? What other things are happening around the hook? What other parts are happening to support it? What other instruments are there that are supporting it? Or are there not other instruments supporting it? Is it happening in a quiet part of the song? You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the kinds of things that you need to start paying attention to. Or how about this? Like, what's the relationship between the drums and the bass? Learn to start asking yourself those kinds of questions, because those are the questions that really matter when you're listening to songs. Because once you start hearing those things, you will not be able to listen to music without paying attention to those things anymore. I mean, when I listen to music, I am listening for all of the production elements and how a song is arranged, and I can't help it anymore. It just is, right? So those are my 3 tips plus a bonus tip, or 4 tips, however you want to look at it, for today, for you to start writing better choruses, because that's what really matters in your song. Now, I mean, there are exceptions. If you're writing cinematic soundtracks, there's not a hook per se, or there might not be a chorus, but there probably could be a hook still. In fact, I think there is. But you get what I'm saying. If you're just in a typical genre, your chorus is really what matters. That's what helps you stand out, and that's what gets people to pay attention to your song and not press skip and not move on with their day, and for you to fit into that 4.5 hours of music that they're listening to that day. Guys, I want to thank you so much for listening to the show today. We turned 6 today, not 6 years, 6 episodes. And I want to remind you once again that we have, and I'll put this in the link of this YouTube video and in the show notes if you're listening on iTunes, or listening audio, not video. I'll give you the chance to sign up, get my free samples, man, and you can get started making music today. In this sample pack, I've got some hooks that can be placed into the context of your chorus, your next chorus. And I want you to use them, because I want you guys to succeed. I want you to write killer, awesome sounding productions. That's what I'm here to do, and that's what I want you guys to do. So please check out that page, so you can go ahead and get those samples and the forthcoming workshop, the 4-part workshop that's going to be coming with it. And also, please let me know how I'm doing. Let me know how you like this show. I want some feedback, because I want to know that you guys are there and you're listening, and that you're enjoying this, and that you care. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to know that this is helpful and that this matters to you. So what I would love for you to do is go ahead and leave me a review on iTunes, or wherever it is that you are listening. Maybe you're not listening on iTunes, and you're one of those people who are trying to be unique and original. But whatever, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, I guess, wherever it is that you're listening, please go ahead and leave me a review and let me know how I'm doing. And give me a nice thumbs up on YouTube as well. That'd be great. Let me know I'm doing good. And if you have any questions as well, or any comments that you would like to send my way, feel free to do so. You can leave me a comment on the YouTube video, or if you're listening, feel free to send me an email. My email is southshoreaudio@gmail.com. That goes right to me. So go ahead and send me an email if you got a question, or leave me a question right in the comments, and we can get a little conversation going about writing choruses and how important that is. And let me know what you think is a good way to write a better chorus. If you've got a tip, go ahead and leave it in your comment, or send me an email so I can talk about it later, because I'm not the only person that has ideas for tips. You guys probably have some ideas too, and I would love to hear them so that I can incorporate them too. Iron sharpens iron. So let me know, guys. Thanks so much. Really appreciate you guys listening, and I will catch you guys next time.